Every drug and its effect explained 10 plus explains simply caffeine. Caffeine is a stimulant, a chemical that accelerates your brain and nervous system. It's found in coffee, tea, soda, and energy drinks, quietly powering billions of people every morning. For most, it's not just a beverage. It's a ritual. The day doesn't truly begin until that first sip lands. Once you drink it, caffeine enters your bloodstream and rapidly reaches your brain. There, it blocks a chemical called adenosine, the signal that tells your brain it's tired. So caffeine doesn't actually give you energy. It temporarily masks fatigue. Your neurons fire faster. Your heart beats harder. Your attention narrows. And suddenly, you feel sharper, more present, more capable. Within 20 to 30 minutes, the peak arrives. Focus locks in. Motivation rises. The world feels simpler, lighter, more manageable. It isn't euphoria. It's perceived control, confidence in liquid form. But as your body metabolizes the caffeine, adenosine rushes back in. The clarity slips. Focus fragments. Irritability creeps up. Jitters appear. And a familiar thought forms, maybe one more cup will fix this. Caffeine is mildly addictive, but it hides behind habit and culture. Over time, your brain compensates by producing less natural alertness. What once energized you now just restores baseline. Quit suddenly, and your body notices immediately. Headaches. Fatigue. Brain fog. We joke about needing coffee to survive, but that dependency is withdrawal dressed up as routine. The truth is simple, caffeine doesn't wake you up. It just postpones your exhaustion. Nicotine is a fast-acting stimulant found in tobacco and vapes. It's the chemical that hooks people, not the smoke itself. Inhaled through vapor or smoke, it reaches the brain within seconds. When it hits, it triggers a surge of dopamine, the neurotransmitter linked to reward, focus, and relief. At first, it feels ideal. Heart rate rises slightly. Thoughts sharpen. Anxiety loosens its grip. Stress fades into the background. This is the onset. A clean, controlled calm. For a few minutes, your mind feels smoother, quieter, easier to manage. But nicotine burns fast. As dopamine levels drop, calm transforms into restlessness. Tension builds. A craving forms. That's the come down, and it's the engine of addiction. Each puff doesn't create peace. It briefly relieves the discomfort caused by the previous one. That's the loop. Nicotine trains your brain to believe relief only exists between withdrawals. Over time, dopamine regulation changes. Without nicotine, the world feels flat, dull, unmotivating. Physically, it strains the lungs, heart, and blood vessels. Mentally, it's more insidious. It convinces you that coping is impossible without it. Alcohol is a depressant, meaning it slows your brain and nervous system. It's consumed everywhere: parties, dinners, celebrations, grief. People drink to loosen up, to forget, or simply to belong. Once alcohol enters your bloodstream, it disrupts communication between brain regions. At first, that disruption feels like relief. The onset brings warmth, relaxation, and lowered inhibition. You feel more social, more open, less guarded. Thoughts quiet. Muscles loosen. The moment feels easier. Alcohol appears to unlock connection. Then comes the peak. Judgment fades. Emotions swell. Speech gets louder. Boundaries blur. Coordination slips, yet confidence remains. That's the illusion. Alcohol slows your brain while convincing you everything is fine. Eventually, the come down arrives. Energy drains. Warmth turns heavy. The buzz collapses into fatigue. Hours later come dehydration, nausea, and mental fog. The next morning, brain chemistry crashes. The hangover. Alcohol's addiction is subtle. Drink often enough and your brain starts expecting it for relaxation. You stop drinking for enjoyment and start drinking to feel normal. Over time, it damages the liver, weakens the heart, and erodes self-control. It makes you feel alive while slowly dulling everything that makes life meaningful. Cannabis is a psychoactive drug derived from the marijuana plant, most commonly smoked, vaped, or eaten. Its main active compound, THC, interacts with the brain's endocannabinoid system, which regulates mood, memory, and perception. When THC enters the bloodstream, it binds to receptors normally activated by natural chemicals like anandamida, compounds associated with calm and balance. The onset slows time. Sensations sharpen. Everything feels warmer, lighter, slightly surreal. At the peak, cannabis can enhance creativity and relaxation or tip into confusion and paranoia depending on dose and mindset. Music feels deeper. Colors richer. Thoughts feel profound. Reality bends into something dreamlike yet focused. As the come down begins, thinking slows. Speech drifts. Fatigue settles in. For some, it's gentle. For others, it lingers as a mental fog into the next day. Cannabis is mildly addictive, primarily psychologically. Regular use can blunt motivation, weaken short-term memory, and increase anxiety in higher doses. Often labeled harmless, it quietly reshapes how the brain associates relaxation with reward. Cocaine is a powerful stimulant derived from coca leaves. Most commonly snorted, it can also be smoked or injected. Once inside the body, it floods the brain with dopamine by blocking its reabsorption. The onset is immediate. Euphoria surges. Confidence spikes. Energy explodes. The heart pounds. The mind feels electric. Every thought seems brilliant. Every action feels precise. At the peak, you feel fast, sharp, unstoppable. But the brain's reward system is burning fuel at an unsustainable rate. The high is intense but brief. When dopamine crashes, the come down hits hard. Anxiety rises. Mood collapses. Exhaustion takes over. Craving returns, not for pleasure, but to escape the drop. Cocaine is highly addictive. It rewires the brain to associate motivation, pleasure, and control with the drug itself. Over time, it damages the heart, constricts blood vessels, and makes joy without it feel unreachable. MDMA, commonly known as ecstasy or Molly, is a synthetic stimulant and hallucinogen. Typically swallowed at parties or clubs, it floods the brain with serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, chemicals tied to happiness, reward, and connection. The onset brings warmth and emotional openness. Music deepens. Lights shimmer. Touch feels electric. You feel intensely connected to people around you. Empathy spikes. At the peak, serotonin surges and the world feels perfect. You dance for hours. You talk endlessly. Everything feels meaningful. But MDMA depletes serotonin rapidly. When levels drop, the come down begins. Emptiness replaces joy. Sadness or exhaustion settles in. The contrast is stark. Repeated use damages serotonin-producing neurons, making natural happiness harder to access. Physically, it risks dehydration, overheating, and organ stress. It's called a love drug because it simulates connection, but the bond is chemical, and the brain pays afterward. LSD is a hallucinogen that radically alters how the brain processes reality. Taken in microscopic doses on blotter paper, it binds to serotonin receptors involved in perception and identity. The onset bends reality. Patterns move, colors breathe, sounds glow. Reality doesn't break, it transforms. At the peak, which can last hours, time dissolves. The sense of self weakens. You may feel euphoric, terrified, or both. Emotions feel physical. Thoughts merge into sensation. The come down is gradual, like re-entering gravity. Reality reconstructs itself. Some feel reflective or calm. Others feel drained. LSD isn't physically addictive, but it's unpredictable. Mindset and environment shape the experience. It can expand perception or trigger anxiety long after. It opens doors in the mind, but not all of them close cleanly. Ketamine is a dissociative anesthetic originally designed for surgery and now used medically in controlled doses for depression. Recreationally, it's taken for its dissociative effects. It blocks glutamate, a key neurotransmitter for awareness and sensory processing. The onset is rapid. The world feels distant, muted, unreal. At the peak, perception detaches. Users may feel separated from their body, observing themselves from outside. Time loses structure. The experience can be peaceful or deeply unsettling. During the come down, awareness returns slowly. Thought feels heavy, as if moving through water. Ketamine isn't classically addictive, but tolerance builds quickly. Heavy use can cause memory issues, bladder damage, and emotional numbness. It disconnects pain, but also meaning. Opioids are painkillers derived from poppies or synthesized in labs. Medically prescribed or used illicitly, they all act on the same receptors. The onset brings warmth and profound relief. Pain fades. Stress dissolves. The body sinks into a deep, comforting calm. At the peak, everything slows. Breathing shallows. Consciousness drifts. It's bliss bordering on unconsciousness. The come down is brutal. Withdrawal brings pain, anxiety, nausea, insomnia, and desperation. The brain learns to treat the drug as survival itself. Opioids are among the most addictive substances known. They don't just take pleasure. They take the ability to feel okay without them. Methamphetamine. Methamphetamine is an extremely powerful stimulant that floods the brain with dopamine and adrenaline. The onset hits like a shock. Energy explodes. Thoughts race. Sleep disappears. Confidence surges into invincibility. At the peak, motivation becomes obsession. The brain burns through dopamine reserves at maximum speed. The come down is devastating. Depression, paranoia, exhaustion, and emptiness can last days. Meth rapidly destroys the brain's natural reward system. It offers energy borrowed from the future, with interest. Psilocybin. Psilocybin, found in certain mushrooms, converts into psilocin in the body, interacting with serotonin receptors. The onset sharpens perception, patterns ripple, emotions surface, awareness expands. At the peak, reality transforms. Time stretches. Connection deepens. Meaning intensifies. The come down brings reflection or confusion. Psilocybin isn't physically addictive, but it's psychologically powerful. It doesn't create thoughts. It reveals them. Benzodiazepines. Benzodiazepines are sedatives prescribed for anxiety and insomnia. They enhance GABA, the brain's primary calming chemical. The onset brings relief. Thoughts slow. Muscles relax. Stress dissolves. At the peak, worry disappears. Sleep comes easily. With repeated use, the brain forgets how to calm itself. Dependence forms quickly. Withdrawal can be dangerous. They don't just quiet anxiety. They teach the brain it can't cope alone. Disclaimer: this video is for educational and informational purposes only. It explains the scientific and psychological effects of various substances and does not promote, glorify, or encourage the use of any drug, legal or illegal. The goal of this video is to raise awareness about how these substances affect the human body and mind. If you or someone you know is struggling with substance use or addiction, please seek professional help. In the U.S., you can contact the SAMHSA National Helpline at 1,800,662 4357. Help, free, confidential support available 24/7.